Pastor Tim Stetson, and I'd like to welcome you to Life in Christ, where we share scriptures and a message from the Richford First Baptist Church. I'm so glad that you joined us for our program today. Our message will use God's Word as a foundation, and my hope is that His Word will have a special meaning to each one of you as you watch and listen. If you're ever in Richford and are not currently attending a church, we'd love to have you join us. We're located at 30 School Street, right in the center of town. School Street is located between the post office and the Pink Lady. Turn onto the street and come up the hill. The church is on the right-hand side of the street. Parking is found in front as well as around to the side. Our service starts at 9:45 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Now let's get to today's message. So last week I started a series of messages about money. And we talked a little bit about money last week. But one of the things that I want to share is I want to back up just a little bit, because this isn't really a series only about money. The underlying focus of this series is about bondage versus freedom. Jesus put it this way. In Matthew 6:24, he says, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." And it takes us sometimes years and years to understand that we can't serve both. So today I want to start this message in this series, and this message is called A Biblical Financial Strategy. And we're going to stretch it over a couple weeks, so we'll do the first half this week, and then you get a break because Kurt will be sharing the message next week at the Dairy Festival, and then we'll come back to it when we come back together here. So the book, The Millionaire Next Door, is the memoir of Dr. Thomas J. Stanley's interviews across America of people with a true net worth in excess of $1 million. As he did these interviews, he found something very, very interesting in these interviews. It isn't the people in the wealthiest neighborhoods with the biggest houses and the nicest cars that are truly wealthy by American standards. It's the people next door who live in average houses and drive modest cars who have lived on far less than they have. Our approach to wealth, so see how true this rings for you, in America is definitely fake it until you make it. And I bet if we think about it, we can share stories. I had some friends that grew up through school, and it was just interesting to see how they lived, and they had their own company, and made it looked like, oh, this is how I'd really like to live. Not necessarily. So just fake it until you make it. But I hope that one of the things that we here at First Baptist like to do is to keep it real and fight against fake. I think we try to do that in all other things. Let folks know that we're very real people, and that, we are Christians, we are believers, but we're pretty real, I think, pretty down to earth most of the time. So today, we're going to get real about finances, and we're going to start to allow the Bible to teach us how to manage our money. Because the bumper sticker, it says either you manage your money or your money will manage you. So number one in this strategy is earn your income honestly. Right off the top, Proverbs 13:11 says, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." We're always looking for the next get-rich scheme, aren't we? Right? Huh? It's just we go on, and it's like you look for how, and you hear it. This is a whole industry in itself, how you can get rich quick. Right? And no matter how many times we've heard the statement that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There are some great opportunities out there, don't let me kid you, but you got to work really hard at it, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But Ponzi schemes are something we're hearing more about, isn't it? You hear it on the news quite a bit lately. Those are get-rich schemes. So a Ponzi scheme is also known, by the way, as a Ponzi game. Some of you probably have heard things called pyramid schemes. Okay, pyramid schemes are a Ponzi scheme. So this is a form of fraud that lures investors and pays profits to earlier investors with funds for more recent investors. So I asked Paul, we got this great idea, this fantastic thing, and I share it with Paul and convince him and say, Paul, looking for investors. Oh, no problem, I'll invest $5,000. My guess is Paul ain't investing $5,000 because he likes me. He's investing $5,000 because his hope is that this thing is such a great idea that there will be more people like himself and that will be out there, and whatever this product or service is, they're going to buy it, and he's going to what? Get his money back and then some. Because Mary's already told him that if he doesn't, don't come home. So I've got that $5,000 and I'm all ready to go. All right, so it's gone a little bit of time. Well, Paul hasn't seen any return from his $5,000, so I might be a little bit slow, but I know that pretty quick I've got to be able to start handing some money back to Paul. So I talked to Marcia. Marcia sees this and this is just a fantastic idea, such a brain trust put this all together. This is worthy of investment, and she invests $5,000. Lucky Paul, he gets a check for $2,000. He's starting to see a return on his investment. So he's hanging in, she's hanging in, but you can see where this is going to continue to grow, right? Because pretty quick, we're going to blow through all that money. Just understand in the middle that pretty quick we're going to get up there in numbers, and to be able to get between all the places that I've got to go, I need a helicopter. So there have been enough of you to invest, and I've been able to move money around quick enough that I go out and get the helicopter. But this great idea hasn't come to pass yet. So we can make that illusion last for a very long time, can't we? And everybody sitting here, I'm guessing you can think of at least one of these that lasted for a very, very long time in our own area. And as long as none of the investors, as long as I keep Mary happy, that Paul's getting money back, and I'm keeping Marcia happy, and I'm keeping everybody else happy, none are the wiser. Yet. This scheme is named after a fellow named Charles Ponzi. He used this technique in the 1920s over and over and over again. And it's only one of the illegal. Oh, did I mention to you it's illegal? It's illegal. Okay, there are some people that, they're able to pay their way through it, but no matter what, all that great money is not a whole lot of fun when all is said and done. That in itself should be part of our financial plan. But there are a ton of illegal money-making schemes, but it's only a matter of time before the bottom falls out of whatever it is. Because you may be living, as they say, high on the hog, but eventually you're falling off that hog. And you're going to wish that you probably hadn't started. Many times what happens is some of them go to jail. The only thing in their life that they can't understand it because I've never done anything wrong. The only thing I've ever done is make money and take money from people. I'm not the murderer. But I'm going to prison. Yeah, okay, good. Some of them, you're right, they're able to pay their way through it. Sometimes that's better pain than sending them to jail. Because now they need to make restitution for what they've already done. All over the almighty buck. More and more and more and more. You see, for us to earn our income honestly, the growth of our character needs to outpace the growth of our wealth. It ain't about the money. It's about our character. The pace of our character needs to outgrow the pace of our wealth. Most people, who get rich quick, They don't stay that way. You can get on and Google it this afternoon. As soon as we're done, get in there and look at all the people who got rich quick that are no longer rich because it went away. Because a lot of that is because they have very poor financial management. And that poor financial management and what it brings to them is bondage, emotionally and spiritually. And guess what? All the money in the world will not change that. The Bible commends hard work instead. Okay, God told us to rest 1 day per week. And he also told us to do what the other 6? Work. Right. To rest 1 day. Now, that doesn't mean, because the immediate follow-up is, well, Pastor Tim, what you're saying is that if I don't have a paying job, that's a sin. That ain't not what I'm saying at all. It just means that if I want stuff, instead of depending on everybody else to give it to me, to get it for me, that I generally work in one way or another to earn it and to be productive with my life. Number 1. Number 2, honor God with your best. Now, we had the opportunity last week to talk about this one quite a bit, didn't we? So I won't spend a ton of time, but Proverbs 3:9-10 says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. You know why a lot of people don't give? Because it comes at the, we talked about giving a lot last week, and one thing we didn't mention is a lot of people don't give because it comes at the, where do you think? Let me ask you that. Let me do it this way. Where do you think it comes on their list? Last. Yeah. It shows up last. Right? And we can probably, and again, remember that when I'm sharing a message, usually it's stuff I need to hear too, so that doesn't necessarily leave me out either, does it? Oftentimes it's at the end of our list. So it's kind of like we go through, if I've paid all my bills, if I've done all the eating out and the buying of toys, gadgets, and clothes and M&Ms I want, and I still have something left, I'll gladly give it. Right? I mean, you don't have to move your heads or anything. It's rhetorical, but it hits home. But as we spoke last week, this second step in the biblical financial plan, God is worthy of coming first in our thoughts, first in our time, first in our finances, and he is worthy of our intentional giving. That means that we're not just giving because Pastor Tim said it was offering time. We're giving. The fruits of our giving, both financially and physically, one of those fruits is that fence that's out in front of our church. It's far more important than a piece of vinyl out in front of our church. It's giving from the heart and soul of people that made it happen because they love their church and they want other people to see it as a place of vibrancy, life, and ultimately love. Never thought you could get that much out of a vinyl fence, did you? Number 3, plan your spending. This is a tough one, isn't it? Planning your spending. Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. Most of us look to see where our money went, right? We very seldom, and I can speak for me, we're not always good. We've probably gotten better at the whole budgeting thing because we've had to. God says, look, if you can't do it on your own, here, let me show you why you got to think about this. All right, so you have to plan ahead, but we look at where our money went. And then some folks don't even do that. I'm sure y'all know somebody who it's not even an issue. They just spend, it's like, there has got to be money left because I've still got checks. Yeah, my card is still working, so I must have money. And the credit card company's going, oh, goody, look at, here's another one, over the top. But wise people tell their money where it's going to go. Right? So their money doesn't tell them. So they keep good records. They live by a written budget. or some form of a budget. Even if we can't drag ourselves to do a written budget, they project and forecast, and then they discipline themselves to live according to the plan. And they plan for worst case scenarios in advance. I don't know about the rest of you, but that's one that oftentimes we've struggled with. The furnace stops working. Yeah. What do you mean? What's wrong with it? It's only 24 years old. You've maintained it well, right? No. Well, we can tell you how we're going to fix it. You need a new one. And by the way, you got to pay for it. Oh boy. Part of our planning includes those worst case scenarios. Harvey Nolan, in his article, Breaking the Spending Habit, featured on the Focus on the Family website, shares these 4 steps to budgeting. They're not a be-all, end-all, but they're good starters for sure. We'll end today with these 4. Number 1, establish self-discipline. Put all spending under God's control and recognize that we are the manager of God's resources. Make all spending decisions based on real need and whether God would be pleased with the purchase. You may truly need a car, but would God approve of your new gas-guzzling humbug mobile? With all of the bells and whistles, when a good used sedan would do just as well. I'm not saying that if that works and if that's where you are with God, that if that is the vehicle that you need, is that gas-guzzling humbug mobile, I'm not saying don't buy it, but what I'm saying is think about where you are. Is that something that you need? Do you need it with all those bells and whistles, or will the step-down version work for you? Based on where you are currently in your financial life. Avoid spending pitfalls when shopping by having a purpose, a time limit, and a list you've made before shopping, and then stick to it. I'm a guy. We don't do shopping very well, most of us. Can't speak for all of you out there, but we don't do shopping very well, do we? Now, Kathy can go, and I'm sure that she could shop for days on end, right? That is just in her nature. And I'm not suggesting, please don't take me wrong, that Kathy goes out and just spends huge bunches of money. That's not true. I don't give her any. Oh, no, wait, no, that's not it. But she likes to shop, right? And sometimes people like to shop, and they go out and they shop, and they shop, and they shop, and they spend. They have no plan for doing it. But one of the things is for us is to make our spending decisions on what the need is. And by the way, never shop when you're hungry or depressed. Especially if you're going grocery shopping. Never do that when you're hungry or depressed. How come? Look at this. Look at this. I never go shopping at the right time. And it's usually because I'm hungry. Okay? I can't imagine what it would be if I was depressed. Under God's direction, what we're saying and trying to lighten it up and have a little bit of fun is, under His direction, control your money instead of allowing your money to control you. Then, once spending is brought under control, you can determine how much needs to be spent each month in every area of your implemented budget, a spending plan. So you can call it whatever you want, a budget or a spending plan. But a budget is a spending plan that helps you organize and control financial resources, to set and realize goals, and decide in advance how the money will work for the good of your family. The basic idea behind budget is saving money up front for both known and unknown expenses. That's the key thing. All right, so you've got that. So we've got God first, right? And then this planning for the known and unknown expenses. And then there has to be a commitment to stick to the plan, right? We're all pretty good at, again, I can't speak for you, but we could develop all kinds of great plans, can't we? And I've done a lot of planning in life, so I can put all kinds of whiz-bang things in the plan, make it look really fancy, really kind of cool, you know, make sure that we have it so we can share it with people when we have the consultancy talk. But if we don't stick to it, it won't do us any good. So we have to stick to the plan. And it's looking at being cautious about our spending habits. Shop around before buying. Okay, one of them to take a look at, especially in some of those bigger expenses. You know, shop around and research and learn to say no and keep a record of spending and purchases. All right, so this one you're going to like. If you find the need to purchase something that is not budgeted in your budget, that is okay. So we're not saying that you have to sit home and not ever do anything, not because, wow, man, Pastor Tim, this doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. Come on, you know better than that. We're going to build in fun as well. It's okay to do that. However, put it on a list. This is something that I would like. This is something we'd like to do, and we're going to be able to do it. And then let's find out where we can get the best deal for a very similar or the same product, and let's see when it works in our financial plan. That's all we're saying. Because how do some of us do it? Huh? Oh, wow, look at that thing. Oh, that's really cool. I got to have that. Whoop. Oh, whoa, let me see here. Let me see what I can find. Oh, there it is. All right. We got it. Yeah. Oh, they build big buildings off from us, don't they? Because we do that. But instead, take it. And then, one of the things that they say, if it's something that you really have a question in your mind, it's something that you would like, I want you all to have fun and to have it. If the new boat is what your next best thing is, get a new boat. That sounds like fun. Hang on for a little bit. When you find the one that you want and it's the best price and everything there, and you've checked the price on it and everything, give it a couple weeks. That'll determine just how much you really want and how much you really need that item. Number 3, begin your spending plan. Remember, in order to have a budget spending plan that works, you must have the attitude that God owns it all. That's where we start from. Makes it a little bit easier for us sometimes. And you're the only manager of the funds that he's entrusted to you. So every one of you, even though you didn't know it when you came to church today, you are financial managers. So, if anybody asks you what you do for work, just tell them financial managers. You won't be lying because you're managing God's finances on a day-to-day basis. Make your spending plan flexible. Don't make your plans that are totally dependent on financial increases, because that's the next thing that we try to do. We'll create this financial plan and say, I'm going to be able to do this because there's going to be an increase. Do your financial planning based on where you are, even if that is reaching out beyond and looking for something new. If it works out that you've got more, hallelujah, we're ahead of the game. But be patient, because sometimes God's will is accomplished by a loss rather than by a gain. Oh, wow. So a family budget, your spending plan, it provides a visible and objective standard to work toward and helps you measure progress better and keep the plan on track. A family budget shows you where your family is financially, how much the family is currently spending, and how much the family can spend according to current income. That's the part we miss sometimes. Loan companies don't, though, do they? You go to a loan, and you think everything is great. What's one of the things they look at? You can't afford it because you got way too many loans or you've got too much money going out. This just helps us to prepare for that. It's important for us to understand that there, if any, very few families with financial difficulties that have a written budget plan. You all may be okay where you are. Things are working fine. I'm not suggesting that you change any of those, but one of the things that in this article was specifically written, if you're really having difficulty keeping up and making payments, this is one of the things that you can do to try to work toward taking care of that. And understand that God's Word says it this way. One of the things that if you look in there, you'll see many verses that say about how God directs our steps. And it's tough for God to do that if we haven't planned. Number 4, develop realistic goals. And we're going to finish with that one and pick up next week. The primary ingredients necessary, bless you, to develop a spending plan are goals. And we take our goals and we break them into short-range goals and long-range goals. That's okay. Short-range stuff, long-range stuff. Short-range plans are basically the day-to-day occurrences. And included in this I know it's true that if you don't pay your bills this month, it's really no issue because they'll send it back to you next month. You figured that out? Yeah. They'll do that. Part of your plan needs to be the day-to-day paying of bills. And then long-range plans help us to visualize the long-range financial objectives. Not every Christian will be wealthy, but everyone has a responsibility to plan well, to have sound objectives, and to operate according to God's principles. We will finish this message after we get back from the Dairy Festival. And we're going to talk about 2 more components of our biblical financial strategy. You've probably all heard it before if you've taken any financial management course or you've sat through it, but what we're doing is trying to put it with the Bible. Put it in the biblical terms, because once again, God reminds us that everything that we have And every one of us, remember, one of the statements says, not every Christian will be wealthy, but I want to disagree with myself because I think every one of us already is wealthy. If we take a look at and I'm not suggesting we take out and count what's in our wallet, but I am suggesting today, before we leave, before we go our own separate way, that we look around at each other. And you don't have to do it here. Do it when we get up, when we're finished. Because we have each other. That already is more than some people have. We have those little kids that bring the joy to this sanctuary and light it up. Who, by the way, already in their journey know more about God than any of us will ever know, it seems. You ask them, they'll tell you. And again, they're all sugared up, so they'll be glad to tell you how it is. And we have a love for one another. We have a love that permeates all the other stuff. I know it's difficult sometimes for us financially. But they can take away all the houses. They can take away all the cars. They can take away everything else in our lives. But they can't take us away from each other. And they can't take us away from our God because he's not going anywhere. Amen.